Okay, hang on. Drive safe, important. How to say this? All right, let's just do this. Okay, let's do it because it's good, right? Let's dive in. You and me dive into the new and free watchOS 10 for Apple Watch, simply because, well, there's nothing I can think of at all that will help you or me with our writing. Okay, but there is plenty to just like and enjoy using in it. So, hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which is, as ever, as always, for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads and use Apple Watches. Do subscribe or support 58 Keys on Patreon. I was going to say, because normally we get to talk a lot about writing, and that's not. Subscribe another week. Okay, don't listen to me there. I tell you what, if we're going to do this, right, purely because we can, because you and I can both get watchOS 10 for free, not true, as long as you have an Apple Watch Series 4 or later, well then, why not? Let's start with the daft and work up. So, here's a new Apple Watch face called Snoopy. I have yet to be able to, I was going to say figure out, but also I haven't even counted how many different Snoopy animations there are. That's not the right word. The thing is, animations isn't the right word. They're not animations in the sense that someone drew each of them and they were recorded and then the watch just plays back the video or whatever. I mean, that'd be fine. Actually, they're like little cartoons and they are delightful. But what's really special is that they're drawn, they're rendered in real time. Real time seems appropriate on a watch, but appropriate or not, it's brilliant, because Snoopy and Woodstock there react to the current time. My favourite, for instance, is when you see Snoopy writing away on his typewriter. It is for writers. Yes. See? Yeah, okay. He's writing on a typewriter and then he pulls the page out of the machine, scrunches it up, throws it over his shoulder where it hits, for example, the minute hand, wherever that is, and it bounces off the minute hand and then the sides of the watch, and then it bounces off the hour hand maybe, before hitting Snoopy back in the head. Absolute delight. Totally silly. Microsoft tries to do whimsy like this and it's just embarrassing. Somehow Apple nails it deliciously right. Plus, if you have an Apple Watch with an always-on face, so that's Apple Watch Series 5 or later, then you'll know that the watch face is bright when you're looking at it, but it dims to save power as you turn your wrist away. Fine, great. With the Snoopy face, as you turn it away, Snoopy goes to sleep. Yeah, I can see you want more. Okay, more. Much more, in fact. All right? In every sense, under watchOS 10, Apple Watch and all of its apps that are made by Apple, they all look much bigger than before. They now fill the screen, and actually, now that they do, I can't remember what they would look like. Well, they're obviously smaller before, but I can't picture what they're like, and I don't understand why they weren't always. Why didn't they always fill the screen? But okay, now that they do, well, you can see more on your watch, and it's also all clearer than before. It actually feels like you've got a new watch somehow. Which reminds me, Apple says that watchOS 10 is, let me get this right, the biggest update since the introduction of the Apple Watch. And they do not mean Snoopy. They mean a change to a familiar, well, actually to several familiar basic functions. Now others, not Apple, but others have said the changes will blow your mind. Trust me, your mind will cope with this. For the longest time, okay, you were able to swipe up from the bottom of your Apple Watch screen to get the thing called the control center. Okay, control center. You've got them on the iPhone as well and on the Mac and the iPad. It's in this case in the watches, you can see how much battery life you've got left. Okay, it's where you can ping your iPhone. So you know your iPhone is somewhere in the car, somewhere in the house, somewhere nearby, but you cannot find it. So you swipe up, tap this button, and then the watch makes the iPhone give this sound. When you're not hearing it or recording, when it's actually in your room, it's really quite piercing, this little sound. And also Control Center is where you can turn on the watch's torch. And you're looking at me. Until you've used that torch, that does sound stupid. Watch, torch, no. And actually, when you turn it on, the screen turns to white. You think, seriously, that's it? That's a torch? But in the opposite way to how it saves battery power when you turn away and you're watching at the face, when you turn the torch away, the torch gets much brighter. I'm honestly surprised how often I've used it. It's been really handy sometimes. And yes, so far when I've used it, I've done so by swiping up from the bottom to get control center and then tapping that button. And now that's all gone. Now to get control center, you have to press the button on the side instead. Button on the side instead of swiping up. Listen, if you've been affected by changes in the button on your watch, then call. All right, okay, let's be fair. If you are someone like me, actually, who is used to using Control Center, you will keep swiping up for a bit, but you're going to figure it out, aren't you? And actually, there is an argument, maybe Apple made this move precisely because no one was swiping up. Except, if you swipe up now in watchOS 10, well, you don't get the Control Center, but you do get something else. You get this, and it's called a Smart Stack. Throughout your day, the Smart Stack surfaces information that it thinks you're likely to want or to need, such as what your next calendar event is if the appointment's getting closer. Something like that, for instance. I don't think it's a case that Apple has moved Control Center because no one swipes up and then somehow decided to make us have to swipe up to get Smart Stack, though. I mean, that is what happens. It does work. I keep doing it this way. But what Apple actually says is you get to this stack by rotating the digital crown. Okay, either way, you get this handy view of watch widgets. You get two of them right away. Then if you keep swiping or you keep rotating, or you get another one app, then keep going and you get your activity rings. And then there's you see a little trio of controls for music, exercise / activity, and then messages as well. And then beneath under all that, there's an all apps button, which shows you a grid of icons that is almost, but not absolutely, familiar. You can also get to this same grid or honeycomb, I think it's called, of apps from any watch face by just pressing the digital crown, as you could before, actually. The shape, though, the shape of this honeycomb is subtly different. And rather than just spreading out in all directions, it feels like it just goes down. And at the very bottom of the honeycomb of apps, Apple has placed the List View button. That's a button that's also known as the practical one and the dull button. I like the watch's honeycomb, but actually, I mean, I think it's very distinctive. Right from the start, that's how you recognize it's a key feature of a watch. But it's not the best design Apple's ever made. For all these years, I've had to stop every time to hunt when I want the timer or an alarm or a stopwatch, or there's another one that's also in an orange icon that's very similar. Since moving to this new system, I haven't had that problem. I found it much quicker to get to which button I wanted. Honestly, I'm not sure why, because they're the same orange icons. Anyway, new Smart Stack from the bottom. Okay, old Control Center from the side button. That's it for the radical changes. Except, I don't know what I think of this. Okay, I'm not sure. I think I like it. It used to be that to change watch faces, you just swiped across the middle of the screen. Now, that does nothing. To change your watch face now, you press and hold on the current one, just as you would if you were going to edit in the past, and still if you were going to edit it. Once it's pressed, instead of tapping edit, you swipe left or right then, and that's when you change. Which is good because it means you never change face by accident. It's a positive press and swipe. But as it happens, I have my watch face change its face automatically. So overnight it turns to like a just big red numbers so I can see it clearly, and in the morning back to something more useful. I don't tend to go through changing it manually much at all. But while we're talking about this, okay, changing faces and things, there is actually a second new watch face as well as that Snoopy one that I'm so keen on. This is Palette, and I have no idea how to describe that. This one's handy, by the way. If you walk off somewhere, your watch in watchOS 10 can help you retrace your steps with a feature called Retrace Steps. You launch the compass app. Okay, you tap on the walking feet icon, which should be at the bottom right. You may not see it though. Sometimes I've somehow managed to open Compass at a totally different screen. I do not know why. And yeah, all right, if that happens to you as well, well then do what I do. Tap everything, swipe everywhere, especially until you see a retrace steps icon. In fact, until the watch then asks you, do you want to retrace your steps? Now, I think this bit may depend on where you are, I'm not sure. But the same walking maps feature can also show you where the nearest place is that you can make an emergency call. And actually, it will also definitely tell you when you've reached when you've exceeded a certain elevation, certain height, certain elevation. So if you have a goal set or you're navigating, it can help like that. And also, tapping on maps can now show you, well, the next part of your journey, the next step, the next turn if you're navigating in the car. But it can also show you a topographic map of the surrounding area. And as part of that, it'll show you a circle, which indicates how far you could reasonably expect to walk over that terrain in 2 minutes or 4 minutes. Plus, lots on maps, actually, now think of it. You can download maps now to your iPhone so that when you're going to be away from somewhere, well, if you're going to be somewhere where there isn't a good internet connection, or there is, but you're going to have to pay for it a lot of money, well, in advance, you can have a map downloaded to your iPhone, and if you do that, you can then also see that same map on your watch, as long as you also keep your iPhone nearby. Don't know what happens with cellular watches, by the way, I'm not sure. One thing also just to be careful about, retracing steps, the compass stuff, it all takes battery power, because it means the watch is constantly working away. I got quite into that there, didn't I? Constantly working away. Plus, this is going to sound odd, it also means having a compass icon at the top of your watch face all the time, which is fine when you want it. I mean, it's good. There's the icon, you tap on that to go into the compass when you've been on the watch face. But at some point, I don't know how I did this, I must have had the compass as a complication, and I must have kept accidentally knocking against it, because I was forever seeing this icon running to say the compass is busy. And actually at first it was, well, what is this app? You know, try and work out what it belonged to, and you'd hit it and it might work, but it might open one of the other complications. Yeah, just no. Okay. Plus, this killed me every time. Instead of just, you know, I'd look at the watch to see the time, sometimes it would show me the compass instead, and I had to come out of that, and my battery was going down. So, lesson learned here, be careful what you put in complications. I'll just say it as well, actually, other complications, you don't want to put fitness in that. Yeah, all right, maybe you do, okay. If Apple Fitness, I've used Apple Fitness Plus and I must use it more. You can now, with watchOS 10, you can use Apple Fitness Plus, not just to track your workouts and see when you're exercising, but to plan out a schedule of when you'll do which workouts. You can make up a schedule of what you're going to work out at, and I probably do mean make up, don't I? So, fitness is bigger than I admit to give it credit for. I do think, though, that another element, a new element of watchOS 10, brand new feature, is going to be big too. It's going to be very useful for us as writers. There is something more for writers, given what we do and how we tend to do so much of it alone. Mental health logging. Now, this is something you set up on your iPhone or your iPad in the Health app. You can't set up on the watch, but what you can then do in the watch once you set up is you'll be reminded every now and again to log how you're feeling. And that sounds a bit, you know, happy clappy stuff, but it's just quite quick and broad, good, bad, pleasant, not pleasant, and also a little bit of, is it to do with work, is it to do with family, just, you know, broad categories. The watch will remind you, it takes you a moment to capture the mood and so on, and it means that, well, because it's so quick, you get the reminder and you do it. You've logged before you've even really thought about it, so you've captured just a snapshot of how you're feeling. And because you do that, because you'll do it more often because it's so quick, it means there's more information being recorded into your Health app. And that, therefore, means more for you to see when you look at the detail back on your iPhone or your iPad. It doesn't make connections, it doesn't judge, but it helps you see patterns. So, for example, you're always elated after deadline day. Okay, might be obvious, might not be. Or you're miserable when you go to the dentist, that's also obvious, but you see the patterns, and it does help. Apple says this is all to help build your resilience. So actually, yeah, maybe I did get it wrong at first. Maybe watchOS 10 really is for us as writers as well as other people. Remember, by the way, that alongside watchOS 10 for Apple Watch, there is also now iOS 17 for the iPhone, iPadOS 17 for the iPad, and possibly my favorite, macOS Sonoma for the Mac. Oh, and there's tvOS something. Is that 17? Lose track of numbers with tvOS. For the Apple TV 4K. Tell you what, let me know in the comments if you're willing for you and me to put off writing for a bit and examine the new tvOS something on 58. What do you mean? There's nothing in it for writers. Didn't we just prove that there were? Yeah, all right. There's also not a whole lot for anybody, but maybe we'll check it out together. If we check it out together, no one can stop us, can they? But for now, that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, write more, and I'll see you soon.